Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. It's the Benjamin Bloom Football Show reacting to, or should I say, and I have just witnessed West Brom 0, Fulham 0. The plot thickens at the top of the table. We knew somebody had to drop points tonight, and it turns out both teams dropped points in an outcome that's probably okay for Brentford in respects of they're a little bit closer if they can get a win tomorrow. A decent outcome for Leeds. West Brom's destiny is still in their hands. Just in terms of Fulham, that's probably playoffs now for them. Get your comments in. I can see loads of them flooding in on what you think that means for West Brom and Fulham and also the other teams in the top two. Also, let me know everything is sounding and looking okay. And yes, I am aware of what's going on at Wigan at the moment, which is looking like it's going to be a very, very big story developing there as well. 7-0 at halftime. So do pop that thumbs up. But without further ado, shall we get the league table up as it stands right now? If you're watching this video on delay, it is 6:56 on Tuesday night. So this table will obviously change. But as of right now, there is your league table. So West Brom now and Fulham with only 2 games to go. 2 games remaining for both of them. Look at Fulham now, 77, 5 points off West Brom. So we can say with some certainty now, Fulham cannot catch Leeds United. That race is run for them. Fulham's maximum upside now, 83 points. In terms of West Brom now, they are essentially, well, they still need 2 wins, don't they? Brentford's maximum upside is 87. West Brom's maximum upside is 88. That is how tight it is. The Leeds issue depends more tomorrow on what Brentford do. But in terms of if I'm a Brentford fan and closing that gap up to 1 point tomorrow, then it's going to be a very, very interesting last 2 games. But I do believe West Brom's last 2 games are pretty favourable. And that result there might not be the end of the world. Just have a look down at the bottom of that graphic and you'll see Huddersfield away, QPR at home. West Brom will probably be at peace with the fact that they basically know if they can beat Huddersfield away and QPR at home, they are promoted to the Premier League. It's not all bad for West Brom, that drop in points. Fulham needed the win, but look, let's be honest with it now. Fulham we're looking at playoffs now for Scott Parker and Fulham. Right, keep your comments coming in. We'll have a little look through the main points of this game, and then we'll no doubt debate now the new context of what that now means tomorrow night. Not a lot has changed, really. Brentford still need to win. Leeds still need to win. People still need to look after their business. But interesting that both teams dropping points tonight. No one getting the 3. Let's just bash through this review because it wasn't the most eventful game. Very cagey. Did open up a little bit in the second half. I think the eye test and the stats told us Fulham maybe edged the first half. West Brom could have won the game. Well, we'll talk about the big chance that they're going to miss in the second half. There's the West Brom 11. Johnston, O'Shea, Higazi, Ajayi, Townsend, Livermore, Sawyers, Diangana, Pereira, Grzycki, Austin up top. Fulham's, it says 4-2-3-1. There was more a 4-3-3. So Brian Ream, Hector, Adoy, the back four with Rodak in goal. Call it Harrison Reed sitting with Onoma and Bobby Reed rotating ahead of him. Knockout off right. Cavaliero off the left. Mitrovic up the top. And into the first half action. Diangana warms to keep his hands on 8. A knockout shot tipped around the post on 9. And then from the corner, a nice recycle by Michael Hector. No one there to finish that off. Here is the chance. Well, there was no chance because there was no shot, but the closest in the first half there. That ball has been looped in by Knockaert. Cavaliero, very, very athletic to head that across over Johnston. You can see that ball is travelling away from goal because Ahmed Hegazi has just snitched it away from Bobby Reid arriving on the goal line. Not a lot else happening in that first half. West Brom do put a couple of long-range efforts on target. One of them was frankly a cross. Cabano in for Cavaliero. Just at the end of the first half, some hint that Mitrovic did have the beating of the West Brom marking from corners, and maybe if they could force attacking set plays. Tight in the first half. There's your half-time stats. Nothing in it at all. No big chances either of note. My eye test, like I say, and a lot of the chat we got at half-time did seem to agree with me that Fulham maybe just edged that, but 0-0 reset at half-time. West Brom better in the second half. Matt Phillips in for Grzycki. He was quiet, which means Dejan Garner moves over to the left and Phillips goes down the right. Pereira talks himself into the book. Great player, Pereira, but I saw this firsthand down at Millwall. He does like to create a running narrative between himself and the referee, let's just say, in most games. Pereira then goes down on 53, and I'll acknowledge an excellent player, but he lays down on the floor and Michael Hector pats him on the head. It's not violent conduct, for goodness sake, and Pereira rolls over Rivaldo style. So maybe a little bit of S-housing tactics there from Mr. Pereira, but hey-ho. Livermore on Cabano, yellow card on 54. Now, West Brom are going to come strong for about the next 15 minutes. On 56, Dejan Garner to Pereira in behind on the left. Lovely cross all the way across the box. Men in the box. Nobody gambles there getting across the last man. Strange when you consider Charlie Austin is around there. Pereira fed into the box. Can't sort his feet out. Miss-kicks it. They're well positioned here. Crossbar, not yet. Close. Wrong chance. Knockaert's corner here again in the first half. Like in the first half, Mitrovic wins the header. Not quite clean. Headers it down. It bounces. I think it's Ajayi heads it away, but still looks a danger from corners. Charlie Austin's game is done on 64. Robson Kanu comes in for him. And now we get the big chance, a possible promotion confirming chance if he puts this in. The state of play would look very, very different. It's worked across from the right. Robson Kanu is in the centre. He gets something on it. I don't know whether he's trying to flick it on or just trying to go for goal or just get what he can on it. And then it falls to Dejan Garner on the back post. Can he hit it first time? Can he touch and hit? He makes the control. He then comes inside Dennis Adoy, it looks like there, and Michael Hector. And then remember Helder Costa's goal for Leeds against Stoke, just outside of the left foot. Pop it in. Obviously, look, Rodak's narrow in the angle, but that is a big chance. And you think, looking at that, looking at the angle of his foot and his angle of the ball, that is going in, but it's just clipped Rodak and goes wide. That was the biggest chance, and he probably should score a player of Dejan Garner's quality there. Just took a little bit too long here. 71, Pereira corner. Ajayi up in the middle of the box wins the header. Gets the right shape on that header, just wide. West Brom well on top for that period. That was the most dominant either team was in this game. However, very unlucky here. Anthony Knockaert, really nice play from him. Route 1, just booted down the middle. Mitrovic making a nuisance of himself, sort of wins it after a fashion. Basically, it just goes loose. Knockaert, control, half volley, takes them all by surprise. Dip, keeper beaten off the crossbar and bounces away. Closer than Dejan Garner's, but Dejan Garner's obviously a much higher percentage chance there. But hey, you got to stick the ball in the net, haven't you? 73 clipped into the box. Brilliant from Pereira here. Didn't even get mentioned in the commentary. Spinning reverse ball with the outside of his foot to cushion it into the path of Robson Kanu. But he's very well tracked by Harrison Reed, who's had a very good project restart, hasn't he, for Fulham, on loan from Southampton. I wonder if he can make a Premier League career yet, Harrison Reed. Excellent tackle there with Robson-Kanu pulling the trigger in the middle of the penalty box here. Deep cross from the right-hand side here. I think it's Ajayi puts it in from sort of a wide centre-back position. Pereira does well, actually. He gets into the box. You wouldn't think a player that silky would get up and beat Dennis Adoy in the air, but he does, and flicks the header not far wide. I think if he gets that on target, given the kind of surprise factor, I think Rodak may have been struggling with that one. Johansson in for Onuma. It's going to even out and peter out a little bit now. I think both teams, we're coming up to 80 minutes now, particularly West Brom now go into the we don't want to lose this game mode. And we've seen why West Brom wouldn't want to lose it. They are still in the box seat here. Livermore edge of the box, he's following up. Stiff volley from him, gets a good contact on that. It's blocked out. I think that was travelling goalwards, let's just say. Robinson in for Dean Garner. We get a penalty shout here on 85 minutes. Robinson feeds Robson-Kanu. And if Jack Grealish dived and that dive was awful, this one was just as bad. No contact whatsoever. And Robson-Kanu is trying to buy himself a penalty there. Naughty. Townsend on Reed, yellow card, stopping. Actually, there is such thing as a good foul. That was a good foul there. Krissy for Reem. Adoy goes centre-back. Reem looked a bit confused by that. Most of the territory in the 5 minutes to stoppage time was towards the West Brom goal, but they didn't ever look massively uncomfortable. And the biggest moment was a big counter, and I don't know which Fulham player it was, boots the ball up in the air and leaves Dennis Adoy with a horrible bouncing ball and two players on him. All it takes is the wrong challenge and for him to get knocked off balance, and the winning goal is going to West Brom, but he does really well, Adoy there. Kravinovic comes in for Pereira on 92. That is all she wrote. There are your half-time stats. You don't want to see them. You want to see your full-time stats, which show you that certainly in terms of chances and peppering the goal a little bit more. And look at that one, the big chance, the only big chance of the game there. West Brom were far more the likely side in the second half, particularly in that period, 55 to about 75, much more on top. And obviously, again, I'll put it back up. That big chance from Dean Garner could have made life very, very much easier. So that is my view. We've got a load of your comments coming. I'll throw the table up one more time, and I'll also just pop those remaining West Brom fixtures up there. From a Fulham point of view, again, let's deal with them first. They are now 7 off Leeds with 2 to play. They cannot catch Leeds. It is impossible, unassailable. That mathematical chance, however slim, has now gone. Can they catch West Brom? Well, maximum upside for Fulham is 83. West Brom already on 82. So one win for West Brom puts Fulham definitely in the playoffs. But we're talking mathematically, and to all intents and purposes now, Fulham need to prepare for the playoffs. In terms of West Brom, they've just got that extra point advantage now. So even a Brentford win gives you that 1 point. We've seen it many times going into the last day of the season. Just having any type of lead, whether it be goal difference or 1 point, meaning your destiny is in your own hands, can make all of the difference. Right, we've got hundreds and hundreds of comments in here. So we'll have a little bit of a chit chat, get your thoughts in on the game. The game's going on. I will just check my app. We'll see if Wigan have got 10 yet. It is currently Reading 1, Borough 1, and Wigan 7, Hull 0 at half-time. Incredible. We do often see teams ease off in the second half of these type games, but I think those Wigan players, maybe an outpouring of frustration there. So that is not an up-to-date league table, but if we do a simple bit of maths, we will note that, well, take 12 off Wigan, put them on 42, now put them on 45. Wigan have neutralised their -7 goal difference in one half and added 7 on. That's massive. Look, that's put Hull's goal difference behind Barnsley's as well, and would put Wigan currently out of the bottom 3. Borough are moving up to 48 points with Reading on the beach. It's a very, very big midweek of football. It's going to change. We'll look at it, but we'll have a much clearer idea tomorrow night. But in simple terms of the things happening at the moment, I think Borough will be happy. Hull are in a lot of trouble. Wigan could be pulling off the greatest escape. I think West Brom will be happy in the end with that, given the last two fixtures are Huddersfield and QPR. And Fulham, well, maybe they just need to go on and accept playoffs now. Right. Jake says, do Hull have a keeper at all? I don't know what's going on there. We'll have to watch the fixtures. Ewan says, have Hull got Ben Hamer in goal? So, yeah, just any questions. We'll do it free for all now in this stream. Jay says, no, but you favour West Brom against Huddersfield and QPR. I don't know who he's responded to there, but yes, I agree. In those last two games, you would fancy the 6 points, wouldn't you, for West Brom? So not the end of the world. OJJ, the big news here is that no Phillips for Leeds. We've seen Ben White move into midfield. Berardi can play centre-half. Ayling can play centre-half. I suspect Bielsa will probably announce it tomorrow exactly what he's going to do. But, yeah, no Phillips, I think, now for the last 3 games. So we'd only see him again this season. If Leeds drop into the playoffs, that's not going to happen, is it? Not if Brentford win. I don't know what we're talking about there. Bap says, bit of a damp squib. Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was in the end, wasn't it? Mike says, Dean Garner should have scored. I agree. Katie, the Wigan fan, thank you, my darling. I don't have a drink. I'll give you the round of applause. She's high on life because her team has scored 7 goals in one half. Get your comments in. Highest score you've ever seen live at a game. I think, God, 5-3 I saw in the playoff semi-final. There was one Ipswich game that was 6-4 against Crewe, but I missed it. Rob is behind Millwall tonight. Matthew says it was a bore draw. Yes, it was. Jake is behind Preston. Jay says Wigan are pulling off the greatest escape. They're going to do it. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Wigan's next fixture is Charlton as well. So every single chance. Will says Huddersfield away is the last tough game for West Brom. Exactly. They've just got to win that game. And Huddersfield have shown very limited attacking will over the last few games. Katie says, best night of my life. It'll be a damp squib now if you win 7-1, won't it? Tunners says, boring game. Yeah, it wasn't the best, was it? It was not the best. And if the Leeds and Swansea game had finished 0-0, I think we'd be saying different, because there was just a lot more anxiety and tension around that game. Whereas that one, they shut it down at 80 minutes, didn't they, after the chances? So don't you just love Wigan? Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. I would think, I know that the top 4 have kind of blown everyone away with their form, but surely someone could bring me up a form table and tell me Wigan probably since 15 games ago must be at least in the top 4 of the form table. Incredible. Wigan deserve to stay up. Yeah, they deserve to be mid-table, frankly, don't they? Josh says, I'll take the 0-0. Yeah, 0-0 in that game. Absolutely fine for most parties, even West Brom. In fact, it's only Fulham that that 0-0 really works against, doesn't it? Q-Liner says, most disappointing game I've watched all year. Anti-climax. Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? Rico says, Wigan belong in this league, for God's sake. They absolutely do, don't they? They really do. And it looks like the EFL are not going to need to intervene here. It looks like they can do it and survive off their own. Wigan have just hit the bar at 7-0. Anthony Robinson's just hit the bar. Twitter informs me. Props to Wigan. Absolutely. PH Leeds says, is Hull's keeper on the beach? So when we're doing the beach league with Wednesday and Reading and QPR, are we going to put Hull's keeper in there? Is it not David Marshall? Or he used to play for Wigan? Am I getting that wrong? He's quite a good keeper, actually. Last game, Phillips missed. We beat Huddersfield easy. Yes. Leeds without Phillips at Huddersfield. and that was Ben White into midfield. Look, Ben White is a great player. He's not Calvin Phillips in central midfield. Obviously, he's a better defender than Calvin Phillips, but he's not a better passer. But there's not many better passers than Calvin Phillips in the whole division. But remember, this is Barnsley that they're playing, and you never know. You assume as long as it's Berardi, as long as he doesn't do anything crazy, they should be fine. Fulham did know they had to win, didn't they? Says Knee Down. They've been kind of slow and sort of ponderous like that in a lot of games. So, I just don't, they don't really go any faster than that, do they? So, Wigan giving the middle finger to the EFL and to their new owners. Will says Harrison Reed looks like a class player. Yes, he does, doesn't he? Very impressive since Project Restart. Is Wigan game just in second half? Yeah, Wigan was 7-0 up at half time. Katie says, looks like I was watching the wrong game. Katie, I would have had an absolute kitten if I was watching that game, because I sit and make notes and I'm doing screenshots and stats, and my brain would have just exploded and I wouldn't have been able to keep up. So for my own anxiety, the 0-0 was okay. But yeah. Have Hull got the memo? They think they're at Lytham St Anne's, dearie me. Predicting Wigan 9-0. Obviously, I'm an Ipswich fan, and anytime there's a high score in the Premier League, we say free the Ipswich 9, but this is not a Premier League game, sadly. But also, often pro footballers, they do have a heart, don't they? And they go easy in the second half of games like this. Well done, Wigan, says Brian. Andrew, the Fulham fan, just woke up from a nice nap. Obviously didn't enjoy the Fulham game. Hit to the game says, I think that is more or less West Brom over the line now. Yeah, it's a decent 0-0 for them, isn't it? Huddersfield and QPR, if they can't take 6 points from those two, then Brentford will deserve it. And what it does mean is that Brentford now have to do at least 9 wins and a draw out of those last 10, assuming they're going to win this next game against Huddersfield. So they have put some kind of pressure on it. It would have been very different if they'd lost, and Brentford would then themselves had some margin for error, won't they? Wigan's form over the last 15 games is promotion form. Whatever they're doing, fair play to them. I just think there's a sense that, often it takes time during the season for a team to actually click, and for players that have come in and injured players to all get back. And it just seems that they got to a point in the season where everything all seemed to click, and away they go. So Robson Carney loves a dive. He did that to Leeds to get a free kick. Yeah, we've had a long debate about Grealish. I did argue in that game, every team have players that try and con referees, and Robson Carney certainly did that. Anthony says, as it stands, even after 12-point deduction due to goal difference, Wigan will be 21st. And they've neutralised their goal difference at the moment from -7 to 0. Chris, hey Chris, Fulham have no plan B, thus they were tame in the second half in a must-win game. And I think as well, they really did. I know that Abubakar Kamara is not Lionel Messi or Alexander Mitrovic. However, they could have done with a striking option on there, couldn't they? So, Greg says, happy with that result, Ben. Leeds will win the league. We deserve it. Thanks for that. Fulham, says Alex. Lots of people high on Harrison Reed. He has been good, hasn't he? George says, mental to think we haven't had a goal scorer all season and we still where we are. Yeah, they've kind of shared that number 9 position. When Robson Carney's, no offence, but when Robson Carney's pushing people out the way to be the number 1 guy, he's normally playing with his back to goal and bringing other players in. But we've seen people play this 4-2-3-1 system where the goal threat comes from the row of 3 behind. So, it is and it isn't mental, but I know what you mean. You start to think, where would we be with a decent number 9? Knee down, couldn't give a toss. What West Brom, it's all about Brentford. It is. That's very, very true. From a Leeds point of view now, Fulham are gone. It is all about Brentford now. Leeds have Leeds have two opponents. One is themselves, because they've beaten themselves before. But yeah, Leeds' only opponent now is Brentford. We know that. Any Brentford slips and Leeds are up. Poor Ben, having to make this game sound exciting when a proper cricket score at half-time is on. Look, it's not about the game today, isn't it? It's about the bigger picture. Am I convincing you? It's about the context and what that does to the table. And yes, the Wigan story is amazing. And I've been beating the drum for Wigan, feeling badly about this ridiculous ownership. But it had to be this game today. It's in terms of the Premier League promotions and the biggest story being there. And yes, some games are like that, aren't they? The situation becomes too much for the game, doesn't it? And people are just too scared of losing. Not enough slice spin. He ain't held a cluster yet on the Dean Garner chance. Absolutely, yeah. Hull have been robbed, apparently. The sixth goal was clearly offside. There we go. Giacomo, a big problem for Fulham this season has been not having any really impactful forward players to bring on and change the game. It's exactly what I was just saying, Giacomo. And I hadn't seen your comment and you didn't know I was going to say that. So we totally agree. Yes, a bench option would have been a good thing today, even just to freshen it up when you consider that even though, as was it George said, that West Brom haven't pulled up many trees, still, if you're playing 4-2-3-1, to have three options, Zahor, Austin and Robson Kanu at championship level, surely between the three of them, that should be enough, shouldn't it? Wigan at half-time, even Norwich fans are having to take the, that's naughty, Gazza. Naughty, naughty. There we go. David says the draw works out a treat for Leeds. Yeah, that keeps two teams at bay, doesn't it? Gets Fulham out of it. But as one of the commenters said recently, it's all about Brentford, isn't it? Does anyone know which team scored 10 goals in a league match? Test for you, Ben. Is this Fulham 10, Ipswich 1? I think it might be, mightn't it? We don't want to talk about that, do we? If it goes as we want, Ben will be drinking lots and lots of wine. Do I need to go and buy a bottle of wine at lunchtime on Thursday to keep up with this? There we go. Wigan, 16 chances and 11 shots on goal in the first half. Incredible. Marco says, think baggies will go up now. And these are facts. West Brom know if they beat Huddersfield and QPR, they are promoted. If Brentford do not win tomorrow night, it's even more clear cut. And let me just bring the table up so you can see. So if Brentford draw tomorrow night, then Brentford's maximum upside is 85 points. Do you know what? That doesn't actually change it that much, does it? They can still get to 85, which would mean West Brom would still need the two victories. So, sorry, excuse me, out of date table. I'm very sorry. Erase what I just said from your minds. Sorry, if Brentford were to draw last night, tomorrow night, God help me, what am I talking about? If Brentford were to draw tomorrow night, then their maximum upside would only be 85. Yeah, West Brom would then need a win and a draw from those two games. So, look, it's in West Brom's hands, isn't it? It really, really is. And sorry for that terrible bit of punditry. Will says XG, ? XG, I find it helpful. Some people who don't like change, who probably screamed and moaned when people started talking about possession, probably would have screamed and moaned when the newspapers started reporting shots on target and whatnot. So, XG is just the probability of scoring a goal. Some people like it, some people don't. It reminds me a bit of when Love Island comes on every year and lots of people tweet about not watching Love Island. And it's like, well, if you don't want to use XG, don't use it. Not saying Will's in that boat, but if you don't want to watch Love Island, just don't watch it. I need to tell the world you're not watching it. Lots of people tell me they don't use XG, but I find it quite helpful. I really struggle to get past the injustice that a great football team like Brentford can be robbed of deserved promotion by a team like Cardiff who score way less points. Yeah, it's not robbery, though, if it's the agreed rules at the start of the season. All I would say is just think how many dead rubbers there would be towards the end of the season in terms of... And remember, as much as us fans like to think it's all about us It's not. It's all about TV, isn't it? And the playoffs are a very, very good TV spectacle. They keep the excitement going. And yeah, I've been on the losing side of it. I've seen Ipswich finish 11 points ahead of Bolton in 98, 99 and lose on away goals. Didn't even lose the tie. And that was one of those ridiculous situations as well, where the away goals were all still counted. So Ipswich finished third above Bolton, but Bolton were then given 120 minutes because you can't have extra time in the first game. So they were literally penalised for finishing third because Bolton got an extra 30 minutes to score away goals. And of course, they scored an away goal in extra time. So yes, I've been on the rough end of the playoffs, but I think there's more pros to them than cons. Yes, in very simple terms, Brentford are a better team than Cardiff. Anyone who finishes above anybody else is, by definition, a better team. But it's what we got. Playoffs, and I like them, and I think they do a lot of good. Do I think Hull missing Bowen and Grzycki knee down? I'm not going to answer that, but yes. Fulham have flattered to deceive all season, and too many passes go backwards. Useful point for West Brom, says Duncan. Yeah, and I think the pace of the passing needs to be faster often, doesn't it? Welcome to the Championship, Wycombe. Yes, indeed. I made a video on Wycombe, indeed. Wish we were as clinical as Wigan. Well, they still had 11 shots to score those 7 goals, didn't they? Is it 8-0? Oh, my God. Kieran Dowell, that's the best of the bunch so far. 8-0. Let's bring Katie with comment of the day there. +1 on the goal difference now. Unbelievable scenes. 8-0 to Wigan. By the way, is that just going to destroy Hull's confidence now? Is that Hull absolutely done? Incredible goings on there at Wigan. Where am I looking here? Sorry, I'm just scrolling all the way back up. David says, no drink, Ben. The bottle of wine I started last night has probably a large glass left in. And I think I'm going to watch Perry Mason later on Sky Atlantic. So, high-scoring game. Here we go. Heretic. Forest won 7-3 at Leeds. There you go. Beat that, anyone. 10. Ellen Road won 6-4. Preston at Ellen Road won 6-4 after we were 4-0 up. No way. Unbelievable scenes. Ipswich beat Barnsley 6-1 and lose to Lincoln 5-3. That was a recent one, wasn't it? Boring Wigan, Ben. Nearly 10 minutes and no goals. Incredible. Yeah, Josh is talking about the 6-4 after leading 4-1. John Parkin got a hat-trick. The beast, John Parkin. Unbelievable. Team destructive. Look at that. Wow. That's a hot take, isn't it? I think West Brom have enough to go up. Sorry, I'm having that eye issue I get. Would you believe I've got a light literally, there you go, I'm touching it there, pointing in my face. There we go. Okay. George Long is Hull's goalkeeper. Okay. Have Hull signed Lee Camp? Oh dear, some naughty stuff here. Naughty going on. Andy, wow. Round of applause there. £5 super chat. I'm very sorry. My eye is streaming. Let me just pop my hair in a top knot. 1 second. To get my hair out of it. There we go. I don't care how ridiculous I look. Andy, thank you so much. £5. Hope you managed to do this full time. Appreciate the effort put in. Little update on that. If it continues going as it is at the moment, and I can take the government self-employment grant, then I can put the money I've made so far in as support for pay my bills. I reckon we're in with a chance, guys. So keep doing it. Certainly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and go as long as possible doing it full time. And I have to say, traditionally, I've been doing this a couple of years now. At the start of the season, views do go up. Views are crazy at the end of the season, but at the start, should be good. So please, thank you, Andy, as well, and thank you, Katie, for the super chat as well. Keep the support up, and you can support on Patreon as well. Dave says the alarms at Hull get everything they deserve, selling assets and expecting to sell Hull as a championship club. Not happening. You're totally right, Dave. Absolutely, totally right. And there was a big sense that they gambled, didn't they, in January? They thought, we've got enough points. We're not going to only win what will it be? It'll only be 2 games since Christmas, won't it? But they were so reliant on Bowen and Grzycki that it's just killed them, hasn't it? Leeds only lost 1 game with Berardi at the back, and that was the Millwall game where he was wrongly sent off. I was at that game, Dale, one of the Benjamin Bloom as a Leeds curse games. Yes, he was wrongly sent off for that one, wasn't he? Are we talking this season with Berardi at the back? Because obviously he was there. Did he start the playoff semi-final? Was it? I think it was Cooper and Berardi started the playoff semi-final. I'm sure 20 Leeds fans will correct me on that. But Jeffrey, and see, Jeffrey's been quiet, but Bristol City are kind of having this little sneak here. So watch more comments from Jeffrey. If it all goes right and we beat Stoke, Bristol City for the playoffs. Let's see what situation we get. Let's just talk the playoffs really, really quickly, because he's not actually too far from the truth there, Jeffrey. So today, let me just remove your comment, Jeffrey. Today, I didn't need to, did I? I'll leave it up. We've got Millwall and Blackburn. That's the big one. And Cardiff and Derby. So if the right teams drop points there, to be honest, probably want draws in all of those games, don't you, for everyone to drop points. Then Bristol City could come sailing on through. Please don't look at the top of this table because it's out of date. But if you look there, a Bristol City win puts them on 64. So, maybe draws in those games. Although maybe a Derby win, actually, and tie 3 teams up on 64. Sometimes the congestion, everyone trips over each other. Will Leeds win the title now? Well, we can give you an up-to-date table for that. Frankly, they should do, shouldn't they? I mean, when you look at the Leeds position now, they have to beat Barnsley to basically ensure that they are 1 point from the title. Is that right? Yeah, 87, and then West Brom can only get 88. Remember, Brentford's maximum upside is 87, isn't it? So it looks like they are closing in on both promotion and the title. But I'm not allowed to say that, apparently, because Leeds fans get very anxious. Jake says he's improved so much and hasn't lost his head at all this season. We're talking Berardi still. Berardi is our warrior and deserves a contract extension. One thing I do like about Berardi is that he can play all the way across the back 4. Very useful substitute, put it that way. Jack says he thinks Leeds are up now. Dave says goalkeepers normally keep a towel in their box. Hull City's goalkeeper has laid his out in the 6-yard box. On the beach. Paul Cook deserves a massive amount of credit. He didn't get manager of the month in the end because of Brentford's ludicrous streak, didn't he? But yes, it could be the greatest escape. I know some people say those owners don't deserve them to stay up, but the players deserve it. The only worry you'd have for Wigan is if the players, first of all, say up yours to the EFL by, winning all these games and surviving. But then they say up yours to the Wigan owners. Look, we got you out of this. We're off now. Learn how to run your club properly. Let's look for some more comments. Here's Rico. What I can't grasp is why the EFL have such a lazy make your bed and lie approach to club dealings, but then expect them to accept a 12-point deduction in their authority. Yeah, historically, that you're totally right, Rico. What I'm trying to do is give Rick Parry the benefit of the doubt and say, give him a year or 18 months and see if it gets better or see if it gets worse. Because all we can ask is for it to get better. Yes, it's bad with the parachute payments, and obviously this fit and proper persons test has failed miserably at Wigan. But yes, I take your point totally. But I always try and see it from both sides, and I think Rick Parry deserves some time to try and make it better. And if he is making it better, then what else can he do? Make it more betterer. There we go. Scott Parker doesn't seem to motivate from the bench. Very quiet. Yeah, we get managers like that, don't we? That will sit and just observe. And I mean, Sven was like that, and he, was one of the top managers in the world at one point, wasn't he? But yes, it'd be nice to see Ben score just 1 goal. Are you talking Ben White? Has he not scored for Leeds? I still remain confident, though, even if Brentford don't drop points, still in our hands. Yeah, George is totally right. This is in West Brom's hands. And look, it's Huddersfield away and QPR on the beach at home. Although you just wouldn't put it past Brentford still being in it with the last game of the season. We all settle down to watch on that last day. We'll do a watch along that day, I think, for sure, because all the games will be at the same time. That will be insane, won't it? In fact, I can't wait to do that. And you can imagine Eze banging one in the top corner after 3 minutes of that game or something. Harla, 500 to 1 on Sky Bet, worth a punt. If anyone wants a job, it looks like Matt needs a financial advisor there. Please do not take that bet under any way, shape or form, even if it's to post a picture on Twitter. Let's look. Sure, you not had a swift wine during the match. Look, I've got some issue with my eyes. I think someone said I need to go to the opticians. I don't wear glasses, but they start to stream and then I rub them. But I think it's hair in the eyes sometimes. David says I still go with goals to determine matches. I think he's talking about XG. Of course, yeah. Goals determine matches, but my argument is when I'm judging how a game went, do I want more information or less information to know? And I'm a curious guy. I always want more information, and XG is a nice little bit of extra knowledge. Matt, XG is a complete utter waste of time. Forest consistently have a low XG and sit in 5th place. No, just no, Matt, because what XG does as well is it proves something in Forest's case. It proves that Forest are good at finishing, yes, and they don't need to create as many high percentage chances as other teams. It also can indicate a style of play in Forest terms that they can break quickly and create chances. And, you know, they have high value finishers like Lolly and Graben. Just because XG doesn't add up to the game doesn't mean you learn something. Sometimes you learn from it being an opposite. Totally. I think XG is really interesting in Forest's case for that exact reason. And it shows when you set up to go against Forest that you know, in terms of the possession and the territory, where to seed and where to let them in. So absolutely not, Matt. Couldn't disagree more on that one. I think it tells a huge story with teams like Forest and even with teams like someone like Harris's Millwall or Warnock's Cardiff, where their XG would be high, and you'd be like, they've had no possession, but how have they created a high XG? And it'll be creating chances in the 6-yard boxes from set play. I think it just tells you a multitude of stuff. I'm trying to think of a clever analogy to state, you know, something along the lines of where something disproving something proves a rule. I'll have a think about that, but I couldn't disagree more on that, I'm afraid. But each to their own. I think XG teaches me more about Forest than not seeing it. So 18th in the Premier League should play 3rd in the Championship for the final promotion spot like they do in Germany. I'm going to sound like a curmudgeon here because I've disagreed with 2 commenters in a row. This is just in the spirit of debate. I think Championship teams should be promoted and judged against Championship teams, and Premier League teams shouldn't be relegated by beating, or shouldn't survive by beating a Championship team. It's, are you good enough to be in the Premier League, and are you one of the best teams in the Championship? And I think you should have to prove yourself against 24 Championship teams to get up, and I think you should have to prove yourself against Premier League teams to stay up. That is just my view. Let's just do a little quick score check. Penalty to Hull, but the decision has been quickly overturned and a free kick has been given to the Latics. Who would be a Hull fan? Oh, my God. We are still 8-0 to Wigan. Unbelievable. And 1-1 to Reading and Borough. They've probably finished that one there. It was Doncaster 10, Darlington 0, Ben, 1965. I was there. Check out, was it Fulham 10, Ipswich 1? 1963, after Alf Ramsey had left. Google that one. Playoffs were brought in to keep the league competitive. Yeah, and I think they do. God, can you imagine all these? Like, for example, tonight, Cardiff Derby is 6th versus, I don't know, like 9th or something. It's a massive game. That'd be a complete dead rubber because you'd just have Leeds, West Brom and Brentford. They wouldn't be able to catch them. Yes, I acknowledge that statistically third place is the best team. But, you know, you can argue that, I don't know, you could argue that second place isn't as good as first place. You know, it's true. It's a fact, but they both go up, don't they? Come on, Wigan. Shame they don't score any extra points from scoring. I always remember that when Ipswich lost 9-0 to Manchester United. I think Blackburn won 1-0 at Aston Villa, and all the Man United fans were saying, "Oh, we should get an extra point because they only won 1-0, and we won 9-0." But there we go. Dave says, "Ben, do you need reading glasses?" Serious comment. Possibly. Yeah, possibly. I'm scared of the opticians, but yeah, quite probably. Birmingham 7, Blackpool 2 after Blues went 2-0 down. Then inspired by a Ricky Otto comeback. Outstanding. Craig, I was at the 5-5. Oh, God, that was only last season, wasn't it? With Will Hull being relegated cost them more than what they made from selling Bone and Grzycki? I don't know. I don't actually know, given that the drop-off, what will they make in the Championship from Solidarity and TV? Probably 8 to 10 million. That'll go down to about 1 to 2 million. And they made 16 from Bowen. Do you know what? The Alams might, I know the Hull fans wouldn't want to hear it, and the Alams wouldn't care, but maybe they will have more money. But obviously, the upside of being in the Championship is far greater than being in League One, I can tell you, from an Ipswich fan's point of view. Also, Cheltenham 4, Newport 7, 5-3 at half-time. Outstanding. Reading 5, Arsenal 7. That was ridiculous, that one, wasn't it? Like every attack. Russell, wow. Hey, you just changed from Jesus to David Ginola in one swoop of the hair. God, if I looked even 10% as attractive as David Ginola, I would die a very happy man, wouldn't I? West Brom deserved to win. Dean Garner should have scored, says Tom. You've got to take those chances. Hello, Neil Warnock. Middlesbrough are 2-1 up. Let's have a look at the bottom of the table. I think that makes Middlesbrough safe, doesn't it, if that stays the same? Colin is doing the business down the bottom there. You can see that will be 50 points and Middlesbrough safe. Huge goal. I don't know who the goal scorer is. Someone no doubt help me out in the comments. How has Grant McCann still got a job? I've got some sympathy for Grant McCann, Katie. Adkins had the job, didn't he? The parachute payments ran out. Bugger all to invest. Gets them fairly competitive halfway through the season. Sell the 2 best players. First season in the job. What did Stuart Webber say about Daniel Farker? We sent him to war without a gun. That's essentially what the Alarms have done to Grant McCann, haven't they? So I've got sympathy for him. I wouldn't put the blame there at all. Obviously, 8-0 is not good, though. It's infuriating that we don't fast break. Yeah, there was a stat about that, wasn't it? I remember the team with Ryan Sessegnon and Cabano, and it was Mitrovic. I was struggling with that the other day. Used to fast break like anything, didn't they? Berardi did start the playoff semi-final, yes. Any news when the new season starts? Just thinking of your downtime. Really hope you go full-time. Thank you so much, Nudan. That is very, very kind. There should be plenty to talk about. So should be okay, but I appreciate your thoughts. Isaac says, not even Carol Baskin can save these Tigers. I haven't watched that documentary. And Kyle also says, not even Carol Baskin can save these Tigers. There we go. That's probably doing the rounds on Twitter, isn't it? Unless you both had a brainwave. Revy Ball, Leeds 7, Southampton 1. And did Jack Charlton not score a back post header in that game? Lumsden having my comments. There we go. Liverpool 8, Stoke 0 in the League Cup. There we go. 1 point closer, says Baggy's fan. And I think the general consensus is it's in their hands. Just have to beat Huddersfield and QPR, and they're in the Premier League. MW92. Cheers for the videos, Ben. Big love, Leeds fan in Ireland. You will enjoy. I sat down with David Diamond, football historian extraordinaire, yesterday to do a retrospective on Jack Charlton's career. So you might want to take a look at that. Katie says, imagine how well we could do next season if we keep this squad. The issue is, Katie, are those players and that manager going to want to play for these owners now? Or are they going to want to say, up yours and I'm going elsewhere? But shame Wigan to miss out on the playoffs if they win their appeal. They'd be getting close by now, wouldn't they? In fact, how close would they be? Where's my table? Bottom half. So Wigan would move to 57, 7 points off. But still, given the spend and things of that nature, pretty good. Pretty good, in the words of Larry David. These need to offer Pablo a coaching role with the youth team or a scouting role if he would consider it. I think just be a statue now for him. So Matt says, Matt's trying to wind me up here. XG and parachute payments aren't a bad thing. Okay, I will agree that parachute payments aren't a bad thing in principle. However, the disparity in the money paid to parachute teams in respect to those who don't have parachute payments make things very, very unfair. So it's not the actual. I get why we have parachute payments, but I'm sorry, you can't have one team being paid 45 million quid TV money and then the next one being paid £4 million TV money. Make the gap smaller. Still have parachute payments by all means, but just make the gap smaller. But see, Matthew's doing that clever thing you can in debate where you make a broad statement that is essentially hard to argue with, but there's still a million caveats that aren't in there. But hopefully you think I dealt with that one okay. Can you imagine being in that dressing room? I suspect that dressing room will be very quiet. And if Grant McCann's got anything about him, he'll say nothing. He'll say, look, guys, let's get out of here. Don't do any interviews. Let's just get off. We'll talk about it in training tomorrow, but just go home, go and see your wife, chill out and forget about that, because what's the point screaming and shouting about it? Let's just do another little score check here. Check things are still the same as they were. We have kicked off now in Cardiff Derby and Luton QPR. Borough look like they're on the verge of a very, very big win. Patrick Roberts, who was on loan at Norwich at the start of the season, with the goal there. Wigan are, I think we're going to say for 3 points. They are 8-0 up. Katie wants them in the Champions League. Yeah, I agree with that, Mike. Rick Parry has inherited Sean Harvey's nightmare. Yes, he has. Give him a chance. Let's give him a chance. If he messes it up, I'll be the first one to come on here and say Rick Parry messed it up. He made it worse or he didn't make it any better. But let's give him some time at least. Ben, I've heard Kiko might replace Meslier in goal because we have to pay a fee if he plays a certain amount of games. Hope it's all rubbish. Interesting. I thought we'd never see Kiko play for Leeds again. But, hey, rumours abound. Hey, the rumour mill is cooking. Philip says, Bees need Wednesday to beat Huddersfield tonight to keep Huddersfield hungry for West Brom. That's an interesting theory. Could be something in that. Q Loiner says what I was thinking. Kiko won't play for Leeds again. Big Mally, he won't let emotions break out. You won't see him running round, I don't think. Who's that? Bielsa? Or Pablo? Or me? Regarding XG, no harm in more information. Numbers don't tell the story, but they exactly. Look, those people who think XG is a golden bullet that makes them smarter than everybody else. No, of course it's not. I'm not one of those people. And sometimes in life, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the issue is not with the person who's being accused of having the issue. The issue is actually with the person doing the accusing. And sometimes maybe some people don't understand XG and they hear other people talking about it and they feel a bit defensive because maybe they don't agree or whatever. And then they imprint their own issue onto the other people. So that's all I'll say about that. Not accusing anybody. You're entitled to your view, but sometimes it's called mirroring, isn't it? Where you say you were feeling anxious about the end of a holiday or something, and you then accuse the other person of feeling anxious about the end of the holiday because really you're feeling anxious about the end of the holiday. There we go. Why do people think that XG was ever intended to be some sort of replacement? Exactly. It's just another piece of information like possession, like number of touches in the opponent's box. It's just a piece of information. I totally agree, Rico. Some people think, that because XG won't solve all of society's ills in one fell swoop, and whatever racism, sexism, transphobia, all the issues that get talked about on Twitter all the time. The XG won't sort all of them in one go. That it's worthless. What's the highest XG I've seen? It was in Italy somewhere. Someone got 6 XG. Remember, it's very hard to get a very high XG, because essentially with XG there is no such thing as a 100% chance. In theory, any chance can be missed. Even if a guy is stood on the goal line 1 inch out, he could still fall over and miss the chance. So a goal will always trump XG, if you see what I mean. A goal will always be 1 goal. You can't have 1 XG from 1 chance. A penalty, for example, is 0.77. There's 77% chance of scoring a penalty. I find it all very interesting and very useful indeed. Let's have a little look, see what's going on here. Nidown says Mitrovic XG is higher than Bamford, but Bamford does more for the team. XG doesn't show that, it just shows who's clinical, I think. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, absolutely. So the stats you'd want to be looking at is, and God, they've even got pressing stats now for the amount of passes a team completes before a opposing player is within sort of however tackling distance or whatever. So you'd assume Bamford would be very high on that stat. Obviously, that stat wouldn't tell you. There is no catch-all stat that will tell you whether a team is really good or really bad, or whether a team is definitely going to win a game. And if there was, football would be very, very boring, because Leeds can have 36 shots and 4 XG and still lose at home to Wigan. That's the beauty of football. And that's why, you know, football is flawed. Human beings are flawed. We can't have a 100% chance of a goal. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why there will never be a stat that any of us can go and say, this stat says that this game will definitely end like this. I'm going to go and remortgage my house and put all my money on that. That's the beauty of football. There you go. You can only feel bad for Hull. Yeah, I'm sure some people will have less sympathy for the alarms, but yeah, often the players on the pitch are paying for somebody else's crimes, aren't they? Indeed. Keep your questions coming in. Really good conversation going tonight. Brentford fans sat there and told us we didn't deserve to beat them in both games. We beat them because we have a higher XG. How is that sensible? It should be abolished. You're trying to wind me up. Matt, it's just a stat. Honestly, it's just a stat. In the same way, you could earn more money than me, but I could invest it better than you. Okay, there's a stat that says you earned more money than me, so you should end up with more money than me. But I could spend more money than you. It's just a stat. Don't get wound up about it. I was at the Forest-Brentford game, and the XG is really, really telling, because what it tells us is that after Forest scored in that game, and I was at the game, they scored a deflected goal from a corner. After they scored, they were comfortable, and they didn't concede too much in the way of high-quality chances. It's just another stat that gives you another view on the game. And I think the stat, in fact, says that Forest are a very good team in that instance, because they can play without the ball, and they won the game. So don't get too het up about it. Oh, Bromo, there he is. How was the Last Supper? Some more sophisticated Jesus humour there from Bromo on Twitter, who we'll all go to for comedy lessons. David says, yes, Boxing Day 63, 10-1. There we go. That's an argument against those fans' intelligence, not against XG. You're totally right. Yeah, if anyone tells you that a side should or deserve to win a game, I'm going to swear that's bollocks, because the side that scores more goals than the other team wins the game and deserves to. And if you created 8 high percentage chances and didn't score them, you don't deserve to win the game. So I totally agree with Jake. It's an argument against the intelligence of people not being able to understand the stats and the ebb and flow of a game, and not really getting XG at all there. And again, like I say, sometimes it's people's own insecurities that make them dislike something about somebody else, when it's not the thing or the person even. So there you go. From 18th to 15th in the Prem should play a relegation playoff. That'd be quality. It's certainly good TV ratings, wouldn't it? Biggest scoring game. Oh, don't talk to me about that, Isaac. We're going to move on from that. Is that a final score? Have Borough won? Let's just have a little looky on Infogol. I've still got 90 plus 5, but you may be ahead of me. It's full time at Wigan. No goals in the games between Cardiff, Derby, Luton, QPR, Millwall, Blackburn, Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield. And I think from what I'm hearing, Borough have won. I would make Borough safe. And that would be Neil Warnock's third win there. Job well done. Nick says, I think West Brom will draw the next 2 games and Brentford will win all 3. And congratulations to Wickham as well. Yeah, congratulations to Wickham. And there you go on your XG argument. I'm sure we all saw the Sky Sports image put up yesterday that said Oxford top of the league for possession, pass completion, da-di-da, Wickham bottom. Doesn't mean anything, does it? All it means is that one team has a style of play intended to keep the ball and the other team has a style of play where they're happy without the ball. All that does is just tells us a bit of information about the teams. Who won the game? Wickham. You know, we shouldn't get het up and people shouldn't get defensive. Like if you're a Forest fan, you shouldn't get defensive because your XG's low. And wear it as a badge of honour, for goodness sake. If you're a Wickham fan or a Cardiff fan under Warnock, shouldn't get defensive about it. You should say, well, if your team's so good at passing, why did Cardiff finish second in the league and beat all of you? You know, so it's just extra information, and don't take it as a personal slight against your team. Borough scored. Is that new information? I don't think so. I think 7:41. Let's have a little look. Rico says, I always laugh when people say their strikers are so much better than Bamford. And I just imagine how quickly Bielsa would bomb half of them. I would be interested to see Mitrovic and Bielsa. If we could get him working, that would be unstoppable, wouldn't it? David says, I agree with you, Ben, on XG. It's a useful stat, no different from, say, big chances. Yeah, put together with shots on target, potentially you can paint a picture of the game. Yep. David, you're preaching to the choir there. I remember Leeds losing 9-0 back in the 70s. Pass. Sharp says, Ben, has anyone scored 7 in the first half of the Championship? That must be a record. Someone let me know. Certainly in the Championship days since 2005. Hull only got 800 grand for Grzycki. Yes, his contract was up at the end of the season. He played that one quite well, didn't he? So reasonable fee. In the end, considering there's only 6 months left, they get 16 million for Bowen. I think we're going back to, will the alarms actually be quizzed in? Needown says, I can see Hull doing a Bolton. Possible. Yeah, it's possible if they just take the money out and decide they're not interested and just, run it as a, I don't care, will someone come and buy it? Then, yeah, could possibly be. Wigan to start on 12 points if they survive. No, that is not the case. Wigan would only get minus 12 points if they were naturally in the relegation zone this year. That facet of it is to stop teams waiting until they're relegated and then putting themselves into administration thinking, we won't get the punishment now. So I hope Luton win tonight, says Jaggy. I hope they do too as well. McCann shafted by the alarms. I agree. The fact that Brentford have a higher XG creates a talking point and shows there's simply more to this game than meets the eye. Absolutely. And what I don't understand that people can't get right is if you're a team that creates a lot of chances, that comes at a risk. That means you have to bring more players forward. See Bielsa's Leeds as an example. Therefore, you will lose games because you're a brave attacking team. It doesn't all of a sudden mean that you're bad, but I don't get how people can't balance out. For example, if you're a team that's very defensive, like perhaps Huddersfield are at the moment, proportionally then you're probably going to score less goals, aren't you? And it works both ways. So you could be reasonable on the XG in terms of not conceding many chances, but then you're not going to score, are you? And in Brentford's case as well. I mean, Brentford is a really interesting one because I believe they're the top scorers and have got one of the best defences. So their economy for goals, compare that to a Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest's economy for goals, value of points per goal, would be way higher than Brentford's, but Brentford take more risks to create their chances. It's all very, very interesting. And if you're looking for any one fact that says one team's better than the other, all I can say is wait 46 games and look at the league table. And even that, people will pull holes in. They'll say, oh, well, this team played this team when they didn't have ex-striker. And this team played this team after lockdown this season. So you're never, ever going to find anything. This commenter says he lives in the US. We could care less about English football. I would politely suggest then that you stop watching a stream about English football that you've literally opted to click on. I never understand that on the internet. People telling you they don't care about content that you would have had to have clicked on the video to do so. Apparently the results, Boxing Day was the craziest. Yeah, I believe Ipswich lost 10-1 and then won 6-0 or something. Alex is off to watch Millwall. Indeed. Good luck, Alex. Welcome to the Championship, Wycombe. Absolutely, I will pay a visit to Wycombe next season. Third fish. I thought Wigan Warriors were buying Wigan Athletic. They're interested in trying to do it. So we'll see how that turns out. Highest scorer there, Leeds beating Besiktas 6-0 in the Champions League. Nice name drop for the Champions League. I can't believe Atkins didn't tip McCann the nod about the Hull job. I take the point. I'm sure they spoke on the phone, but Grant McCann was working at Peterborough. He wanted a chance in the Championship, and I admire someone like Grant McCann. He backed himself to go and do it. Maybe it's just too difficult under that ownership to do it. Andrew says 24 hours late. Fulham fan in St Albans. Andrew, God, we've got some people who live in nice areas here, haven't we? We had one in South Kensington and one in Putney in West London yesterday, one in St Albans today. Very nice too, Andrew. Katie says, I'd like to think they'd give the new owners a chance. Talking about the Wigan players. Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You would hope so. Sheffield Wednesday won, Leeds 6 in 92. That was a classic, wasn't it? Yeah, absolute classic there. Yeah, Chapman scored 4 in that game. Incredible. Isn't the administration trying to sell to new owners so players could be? Yeah. Goodmanson and Kate have just made the same point. I hope you're right. I really, really do. Hope you're right. Matt says, I'm not trying to wind you up. It's my genuine opinion. Obviously, disagree on opinion, which is completely fine. Absolutely, Matt. And I think we've set a good precedent here where sometimes, especially being a YouTuber, there's a sense of YouTubers, they kiss up to all the commenters. I hope we can foster a place here on the channel where we can have a debate and Matt can have his view on XG and I can have my view on XG and they can be different and we're all still cool and I respect Matt's view and he respects mine. Yeah, that's all cool. And who's to say I'm right? And whatever I say, guys, if you're watching this channel and I have an opinion, I'm not wedded to it for all of eternity. Try and change my mind. Do you know what I mean? If I always think people who avoid debate, and we've got this horrible cancel culture at the moment, haven't we? I always think they're really missing a trick there because if I think something and someone wants to debate me and they persuade me that I'm wrong about it, well, I can either think, oh, I was wrong, I look silly, or I can think, oh, well, I learned something and I'm now smarter. What do I want to be? All defensive, or do I want to be smart? So I don't get it. But there you go. I'm bambling now. Will Hull have parachute payments in League One? No, Hull's parachute payments ran out indeed this season. There is a small advantage in League One in relation to what your spend can be turnover to wages, I think. But I'm not an expert on that. I think that's ratcheted, but. Kevin says, do you think West Brom will slip up against Huddersfield and QPR? There's a chance, Kevin, Huddersfield could crap house a 0-0 against West Brom. Who knows? Parachute payments aren't to make the Championship fairer, they're to make the Premier League fairer. Apparently so. Yeah, apparently so. So that clubs spend when they go up, i.e. look at Norwich, for example. They chose not to spend and they're going to pocket their money and their parachute payments. But yes, we lock young teams actually right. But it is two things can be true here. It is possible to make the Premier League fairer and in the process make the Championship completely unfair. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. Michael says parachute payments to cover existing contracts, but no more. Yeah, I mean, good luck good luck policing that. But yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? And yeah, and then you have to give the money back. Give the spare money back, cover your existing contracts. But I'm sure clever agents and lawyers would find ways of loading contracts that would still allow the clubs to spend the money elsewhere. But there you go. Leeds 7-1. Michael says Leeds promoted with win on Thursday. Now, not yet. Not yet, indeed. Still relying on Brentford. Leeds need 4 points for Auto, 5 to win the league. There we go. Take 20% off parachute, 20% money off the teams coming down and share it with the rest of. Now, that's interesting, Nida. And I did an interview with Kieran Maguire about that, where I laid out the whole thing. I divided up all the money much, much fairer. And Kieran said, well, that's great, Ben. And well done for your maths. And it all adds up. But he said, the issue you've got is parachute payments are a Premier League issue. And why would a Premier League team, who would essentially have to vote for this, vote to have, again, it's like when we're talking about XG and more information or less information. A Premier League team would essentially, they'd be voting to either have more money or less money. They'd be voting to have less money, and they just wouldn't do it. Premier League 2 would solve that, but would that completely kill the EFL? Pablo will go back to Spain when he finishes and follow his brother. Is he Sergio Garcia's brother-in-law? No way. I did not know that. Did not know that at all. Ben, what was Sean Harvey's nightmare? Sean Harvey's nightmare, Matt, was being walked all over by the Premier League, not standing up for TV money, not getting a better TV deal, letting them do what they like with the parachute payments and letting them grow exponentially. I don't think it helped when the parachute payments went down from 4 years to 3 years, because all that did was, first of all, it exacerbated the amount, put the amount right up that you get in the first year. And also, it's probably not actually helpful for the parachute teams. They probably prefer them over 4 years because then it's less of a gamble. You now have a situation, for example, at Norwich and Villa, if Villa come down, where basically they've got 1 season to get it right. And then all of a sudden they're going, right, so at the end of next year, a massive swathe of our income stops. What do? Do we start selling now? Do we risk? I think we have a goal at Millwall, ladies and gentlemen. And there's been a goal at Luton and a goal at Cardiff. My God. Cardiff leading from Hoylett. That's good for them for the playoffs. Bad news for Derby, who are on a bad run. Luton, wow. James Collins, penalty on 20. This is not a good day for Hull at all, is it? Luton could do it. That's probably bad news for Wigan, actually, as well, giving chase there. And bad news for Charlton, I would have thought, as well. I think Millwall have scored, but I have not had that confirmed just yet. I'm sure someone will help me out. Diddly-do. Michael says, I don't mean mathematically. I beg your pardon, Michael. Yeah. Possibly, yeah, quite possibly. Let's see what Brentford do tomorrow. Pablo co-owns CD Castellon, who won't be joining Leeds coaching staff. Well, I'm sure he'll be waved off as a complete hero, won't he? Calvin Phillips out for the rest of the season. How do you think that will affect us? Mally, it might not affect you at all. Brentford might draw tomorrow night. You might put Ben White in midfield and win the game against Barnsley and be promoted. So who knows? Who knows? A penalty is 0.7 chance. Yes, absolutely. Shaft. And my wife is saying, I'm spending too much time with you. It's been non-stop after. I'm sorry. Like I've said many times, I don't have a job anymore, so I'm giving this a real good go. And yeah, my missus probably thinks I'm spending too much time with you. Shaft. There we go. Which team do I want promoted? Leeds, West Brom or Brentford? Pick your team. Do I want? In terms of being a YouTuber, of course, I don't want Leeds to go up if I'm a YouTuber, because they've got tons and tons of fans. Of course, they deserve to go up, and they're probably not going to go up. Out of those two teams, I've enjoyed watching Leeds and Brentford more than West Brom. But if West Brom make it, they deserve to make it. I always like to see the non-parachute teams do it because I hate parachute payments. So that would maybe put Brentford over West Brom. But I've really liked Dean Garner and Pereira, and I like Bilic. So it's not a bad issue for me at all. Mitro was very quiet today. Higazi did play well, didn't he? Made a couple of good, really good clearances as well there, didn't he? In the first half. Sorry, excuse me. Just scrolling. God, guys, amazing. So many comments here. Let's have a look here. Did XG come from baseball? I'm thinking Moneyball. Possibly. Pretty sure West Brom have the highest win margin home and away in English football history. Sensational. Matt says, how can you call me insecure for thinking XG is extremely misleading? You can have all the XG in the world and still lose a football match. It's a pointless stat. I wasn't calling you insecure, Matt, at all. I was saying that sometimes in arguments, when people have an issue with something, it's their issue, not the others. In which case then, Matt, any stat, by your argument there, any stat that goes against the winning team is pointless, I'm afraid. So therefore, shots on goal are pointless because the winning team could have had less. Possession is pointless. Touches is pointless. Yellow cards and red cards are pointless. You're a bit all in on this, I'm afraid. Maybe just modify your language a little bit. You're more than welcome to say to me, I don't care for it, I don't use it. But you're using absolute language there, and you're saying it's pointless. It's pointless to you, but yeah. I certainly wasn't calling you insecure. I was just trying to make a more broader point, indeed. Buster Douglas chinned Mike Tyson. Bit like Tyson didn't see that coming, but that's why we love sport. There you go. You're never going to find any stat. Jake said, I think Ben needs to do an XG special. The problem with XG is, and I'm probably guilty of this, that people are ingrained in their camps. I try not to be ingrained. I try and say, I use XG, I find it helpful. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm saying I find it helpful. I'm certainly not saying it's pointless. I'm certainly not saying it's brilliant. But sometimes people have their view and they're not going to be convinced. And you could do an XG special and you're preaching to the choir sometimes. So let's have a look here. Any questions? Ben's next single, Exgemian Rhapsody, a Bamford apology. There we go. I don't really care, to be honest. I just look, if I haven't watched a game, I feel I know more about it if I read the XG. And to Matt's point, who's debating me in the comments, if I do see an XG look wildly, quote, wrong, I'm like, oh, they've played a good defensive game there, or, that's a good away performance or something like that. Already had a 16 million bid rejected for Ben Whiteley's first refusal on promotion from Brighton. He might take a bid from Liverpool and sit on the bench forever. He might just do. Ben Bloom, XG ruined my life. It didn't. It made my life better. It's not ruining my life, I promise. Samuel says, well, Ben stuck it to that American bloke. It wasn't aggressive. I just said, why would you click on someone's stream to then say that you don't care about it? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We should get a new goalkeeper to battle Meslier, indeed. Why would you be in the chat if you didn't want to listen to what he had to say? You just literally wasted everyone's time. Mr. Pepe is totally right. The fire from Bloom. Look, come on, guys. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I promise. The Yank just wanted not my words, Mally's words. The American gentleman wanted his 5 seconds of fame. There we go. Where are we living? Eric. Ben, I also live in the US, and there is a growing contingent that enjoy proper football. Championship always delivers good football and brilliant time. Keep up the good work, mate. Thank you, Eric. Very, very kind. Flying the flag for our American watchers. To be fair, you guys that watch on YouTube, there's far less chance of people being in the feed and being a troll on YouTube. Sometimes on Twitter, I think it just appears. I think it's more likely to appear in people's feeds. Luton are winning. Shall we do a little score check? Indeed, Luton were winning last time I checked. We do have confirmation of that Millwall goal. Mason Bennett on 20. So that's all looking good for Millwall at the moment. Again, West Brom 0-0. Reading lost 2-1 at home to Borough. Borough looks safe. 8-0 Wigan, incredible. But Wigan results are actually going against them a little bit in terms of Luton winning. Cardiff winning doesn't help Millwall at all, who are winning indeed. Nothing better than a football debate. XG isn't useless. Change my mind. There you go. Have you seen that? What's that guy who does that? He sits at a desk, goes to universities and winds up all these kind of young woke people and tries to get them to change his mind. Luton escape happening, says Matthew. Indeed. The jump between the Championship and Premier League is so big. Do you think it's unfair? A little bit, but Gary Neville said it yesterday. Football's not fair, period, is it? The best teams always have more money, better players, more of them. That's the joy of it, isn't it? Golf is a class sport, says Matt. Excellent stuff. James, what are my final predictions? Dearie me. Can I answer after Thursday, please? The fact that I can't predict the Championship after 44 or 46 games says a lot as well. The EFL have been coasting on the back of Leeds being in this league. They lose Leeds, they lose millions of viewers overnight. I hope that's not the case on the channel here. You're all going to stay, aren't they? Yeah, final predictions for top two. Well, I mean, look at the odds now. Oh, hello. Now, this is good news for Millwall because Jason Knight has just equalised for Derby at Cardiff. So that's going to all be looking good for Millwall indeed. And Daniel says Millwall 1, Blackburn 0. Indeed. Eric says current run of difficult fixtures seem to have done in Derby. Absolutely, they have. Stephen Crowder is his name. Kneedown says he plays the keyboard for God's sake. He's a lover, not a fighter. So if I was a drummer or a guitarist, yeah, there we go. Jason says my missus is sitting down with me, loving this. Hello to Jason's missus. There you go. Bring your missus along. Who's that? Jonathan is back. Jonathan does so many super chats. Thank you, sir. £5 from Jonathan, very kind. Ben, if Leeds was told have been relegated to League One, would you have covered League One even though you didn't follow Ipswich to League One? I would have to be put in that hypothetical situation to see it. Kevin says, this can be done by measuring a player's XG against the number of goals they scored over a period. This gives a feel of whether something out of the ordinary is going on. Do you remember Timu Puki's XG for Norwich? He was playing out of his skin, won't he? Get the likes in, folks. Hit the thumbs up button if you are still there. What's my opinion on the wage cap? I think they've got more of a chance of introducing it in League Two than League One. I think that'd be the best way to do it. They'll bring it in gradually, but that's going to be a hard sell, and the lawyers are going to be all over that, aren't they? Benjamin Bloom is a Leeds United fan channel. Change my mind. You might need Stephen Crowder or whatever his name is. Jake says Bielsa is football's Lao Tzu and Ben is his student. Well, I think you can learn a lot from watching Bielsa teams and reading up on it. Indeed. Ben launches YouTube campaign against the Premier League and upper class football. Also, Ben, when Leeds get into the Prem, we need to cover from yeah, absolutely. Look, come on. I'm trying to make my best out of this. I would be mad now, and I was mad. I didn't have the time, and hopefully I do have the time this season. I wish I could have kept with all the Sheffield United fans and Norwich fans and Villa fans we built up less time. But yes, of course, it's very difficult for us at YouTube. We do have to watch the numbers. I mean, I've said before, I made some videos I really, really loved, my favourite teams, and nobody watched them. We have to, especially if I want to try and make a living out of this. I've obviously built up a good customer base, so to speak. I keep doing that. It's annoying that. Sorry, I won't do that. Customer base with Leeds fans. And I'd like to keep them. So, yes, maybe a small amount of hypocrisy there, but I think you'll understand the reason. Thump, as a YouTuber, would you like to stay Leeds down? And as a YouTuber, who would you want to be coming down? Paul, a lingering blade. Well, Paul, thank you for lingering. And yes, as the commenter just said, I am probably going to hop up a little bit with Leeds and get back to Sheffield United as well. So we will be doing like the Dearly Departed show. Look, as a YouTuber, if you're covering the Championship, it's, your dream league would be Newcastle, West Ham, Leeds, Forest. Who else has been down there? Sheffield Wednesday, Aston Villa. Anyone's of those. You just want the big, highly supported clubs. And what that does do is that, to be fair, I've done Luton a few times, and some would say Luton are a small club, and we've got loads of Luton subscribers. So Matthew says, we need a new lead song. Don't worry, hold that thought. I've done some work, but just wait, okay? Ben should do a Terry Jones on the keyboard when leads go up. Hold that thought again, hold that thought. My boss put a wage cap on me 25 years ago. There we go. Right, I think we'll come to. I'll be tuning in from the dizzy heights of the promised land for reviews and previews, simply out of habit. There we go. My last comment is that Rob Jones and Keith Stroud should be sent to the Evo stick. I'll go with Keith Stroud 100%. I've seen him have some horror shows. And Matt, again, thank you for the spirited debate, and I do totally respect your view on XG, and you're totally entitled to hold a different view to me, and my view should change your life, Noel, and yours to me. And I hope you've enjoyed having a spirited debate, and you've done it in the right way, because some people, they get I'm unsubscribing, and you've committed a microaggression against me by disagreeing with me, and you obviously seem to have bigger balls than that. So well done, Matt, there. Right, thank you, everybody. Now you listen here, he's the Messiah. Not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. Indeed. Right, we will be back tomorrow night. Who are we even doing tomorrow night? Jesus Christ. We're doing Brentford and Preston, of course we are. There we go. Good stuff there, proper gen. And to you, Matt. Cheers indeed. Appreciate the stream, my mate. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Sorry, 86 minutes now. These reviews have just turned into big, long streams afterwards, but people seem to be enjoying them. Cheers there to Leeds 2020. Watching Brentford lose tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I'm sure the plot will continue to thicken as we go. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Well done, Chris, still here. Winding me up about Brentford. Marcus, I think, is Forest fan, and Jin is a Leeds fan there. Thank you to Duncan. Thank you to everybody, basically. Very, very quickly, I know you guys, I don't need to plug this to you, but you can support the channel using Super Chat. Thank you to the people who have done. Subscribe on Patreon, hit like and comment wherever you are watching. Thank you very much. I will bid you all a good night. Enjoy Perry Mason, absolutely. Up the XG, says Q Loiner. Pork chops are ready. There we go. Cheers to Kyle as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Brentford versus Preston could be another big day in the Championship. See you all soon. Over and out.